Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Scale Up Stories. I'm Ben and I'm from Digital Beans. This is this program where I talk to business owners from around the Southeast, learning about how some of the most known local businesses have got to where they are today. We talk to so many different SMEs on this show that, of course, you can go back and watch previous episodes with Laura Woods from Wildbox and of course Sally from Simply Ice Cream, who was on last week. Go check those out on the Digital Beans YouTube or LinkedIn pages. Additionally, we're going to be repurposing all these episodes as podcasts very, very soon. On the show today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kevin Andrews, who's the founder of Cantium Gin. Kevin, it's safe to say your brand's been, how long has the brand been going now? When was the launch?
It was actually pretty much this time last year, which is awful timing, of course. But we've kind of done okay considering in terms of all the things I wanted to achieve. I kind of achieved those anyway, regardless of the situation. So I can't complain too much about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when I first reached out to you, you sort of replied to me quite shocked by going, I've only been going a year, like talking about scaling up my business. Are you sure you want to chat to me, Kevin? I do want to chat to you.
I'm still not convinced I can give anything, to be honest.
No, Kevin, I do, because you launched a business in such a difficult time for every single business out there.
Yeah,
I feel like the brand has more than come to life across a lot of our LinkedIn pages and social media pages. I feel like your business has an amazing USP about it, and I want to dig in a little bit more into that. But additionally, hearing where you are now, and as you said, those goals and those boxes you feel like you've ticked at such early doors, we need to speak about those, because there's so many business owners out there who maybe forget about those boxes that they've ticked and about what they've achieved, not just over the last year, but potentially entrepreneurs out there who have just started out in business, who need to take a step back and actually pat themselves on the back for the journey they've been on recently.
It's very important to do that, to take stock. And I kind of did that in the new year and just reflected back on the last 12 months. And it was an awful time to start a business, unless you're selling PPE or you've come up with a vaccine. There's no good things to be done. So, but I plan to launch in December the following year, and it's things like an oil tanker. Once it's going, you can't stop it. And for what end? Let's not do it for 12 months. We couldn't predict where we was going to be in terms of where the world is right now. We're still in it, so we just cracked on, and we kind of did okay with the online sales. We lost out on a lot on trade stuff. I wanted to get around all the local bars, clubs, hotels, and pubs and places like that, but that was kind of in the shops. That was kind of taken from us, and doing all the festivals and that. So we just kind of concentrate on the online business.
Well, I want to dig in deeper into all those areas and all these things a bit later on in the show. But first of all, let's start at the very beginning. For anyone out there who doesn't know about Cantium Gin, please tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay, well, Cantium Gin, we're based in Kent, and that's very much the focus of the brand. That's the brand story. So the actual name Cantium is what the Romans called Kent when they occupied. And the logo is inspired by a mosaic tile found at Luddingston Villa, which is just down the road from Cantium HQ. And we use a lot of iconic Kentish botanicals. So we've got apples, blackberries, two kinds of hops, lavender, cob nuts, and roasted chestnuts. And I believe some of those things are actually introduced by the Romans as well. So it all kind of ties back in. Oh, and it tastes really good as well.
How important is it to have that? You tell there the story of the Kentish influence on your product, on your brand. How important is that for you? Are you a Kent boy at heart?
No.
Oh, wow, brilliant.
No. Actually, I'm from Hertfordshire originally, but I've been living in Kent for over 10 years now. So it is pretty much my home. No doubt about that. But I think it's really important when you have I did this because I'm a big gin fan. It's not a bandwagon business because it's doing really well. Let's create some soulless machine, to jump on board. I'm a big fan. That's my go-to drink. It always has been and always will be. So it started out as more of a hobbyist thing, and I just looked for, when it grew, I thought, well, you need more of a direction. You need some kind of, you need a brand story. I think that's really important for a product.
Yeah. So we learned where the products come from. We've learned about the story of the product and how it was born. Where you were born, we've just found out as well. And you moved to Kent 10 years ago. But tell us a bit about your story. Where did that start, Kevin? What were you doing before you launched your Cantium brand, Cantium Gin?
Well, most of my time has been spent in in the media, working as a promo producer director. I did that for well over 15 years, and all sorts of guys is working from QVC to ITV and working independently and making private projects, documentaries that went on to win awards and things like that. So there's a big link with, it might seem like there's nothing to do with filmmaking and making a gin, but that creative art, that's a transferable skill about what does it look like. It's all about the aesthetics of things as well, isn't it? It's all pictorial. So what the bottle looks like, what the logo looks like, the design, and that kind of brand awareness. I had all that sort of knowledge, and I kind of transferred that into this new idea.
I can completely relate with that. My background's radio, so I initially started off in radio, and now I do technically sales, business development as part of what I do. But that's all founded because off the back of being able to talk, not being afraid and not being shy to talk to people. Additionally, I've got a background also in digital marketing. You're right, these transferable skills. For me, it was content creation, on-air content creation that got me into digital marketing. People really underestimate, don't they? Transferable skills and how they can be used in different businesses.
And I'm still using them now because I still make films about the product. That's on the website. You can see that on the landing page. And also with the photography, I mean, that's another transferable skill, that when you're doing your pack shots and all the content you're creating for Instagram, Facebook and stuff like that, it's really helpful that I can do that myself rather than having to farm that out and creating another expense for the company.
Yeah, I was going to say you're saving on costs there as well. But you've got that, and you've got that mind, and you've got the equipment to do so.
And also, luckily, my wife, she works in PR, so she helps with that side of it as well. So we're kind of a little unit. We're kind of all encompassing. We do the whole thing.
Dream team. It sounds like very much.
I won't go that far.
Especially not since lockdown. I said yesterday in a networking group, what's the one thing you've achieved this week? They asked everyone in a networking group. And I said, what's the one positive thing you've achieved this week? Well, my one was I put the washing away. Because that's something that I'm nagged to do every day, and something that was celebrated by my little daughter and my wife when I walked back downstairs, or my fiance, sorry, when I walked back downstairs, and I said I've put all the washing away. I tell you, I've never known a celebration like it.
Now you've made good. You've got a clean sheet.
Well, there we go. What about Cantium Gin then? Where did the idea originate? Obviously, you've told us about the idea, but when did it first come to mind that you actually wanted to switch this hobby into a business?
I think he's just got a little bit out of control because I was doing, I did a bit of research, and then I started doing cold compound gins where there's no distilling. You're just using cheap sort of vodka and stuff like that and adding botanicals to it and just macerating it. I was doing that quite a bit and started sharing that with friends and family. They quite liked it. And then I thought I'd take it to the next stage, started reading about distilling, and I bought a little 10-litre pot still and started doing things with that and fermenting alcohol. And then I bought a 15-litre column still, which was like £1,000 worth of kit. So that's quite a lot to commit to a hobby. And then it just sparked off a lot. I've got quite deep into this. So what can I do with it, So then I just thought about, well, let's start working on a proper profile and then trying to make it a commercial spirit.
I know this sounds such a blanket question, but I just want to enhance on there what you said in terms of what can you do with it? What did you do with it? Can you remember the first step? Was it to create some better quality videos to get the messages out there? Was it changing up on your social profiling to say that you are now the owner of this business and established it as a business? But what did you do?
No. Well, you can actually see the journey of that pictorially on Instagram, because you can see me with my little pot still, like 2018 in my garage. And you can see me working on my computer trying to come up with a logo idea. And you can actually pinpoint the arc of this whole story on Instagram. So you can see it there clearly. Yeah. But then I started to send them out to companies to taste and start getting some feedback on what I had. And I thought that's quite positive. And I thought I need to get this to a commercial standard now. I don't have a rectifier's license, so I had to employ someone to take my profile, all my botanicals, my ingredients, my list, and my maceration times and everything I've been doing, and go away and come up with that and give it back to me. And I thought, well, it's mine, but now it's at that commercial quality, and then that was it. And I thought, okay, so what does it look like? What does it come in?
Was that the moment when it came back, when that report came back, and you know, you knew it was up to commercial quality, and you knew you had a product there that you started to take in the fact that now, wait a second, this is a business. Like I now own this business. How did that feel, or did that feeling come later on as you said, the goals started to be achieved? Maybe at the start of this year when you sat back and had a look at your first year owning the business.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It's a really satisfying feeling. I think as soon as I saw it in the actual finished receptacle, in that iconic bottle design, and it was all finished, all the labels I designed are on there. I thought, my hand is all over this. I thought, this is great. I've actually got it. And some of the feedback I got was from sort of gin aficionados was like, normally if there's something a bit quirky, a bit gimmicky in the packaging, the liquid inside doesn't hold up. A lot of people said that until they actually tasted the liquid and said, actually, it's very good. It does hold up. So, and we've won. Going back to talking about things we've achieved during 2020, we actually won 5 awards. I wasn't expecting that for a gin which only just launched, and we've got a gold in the USA Spirit ratings. We've got a design award at IWSC. We've got a bronze at the IWSC, bronze at London Spirits Competition. And we got a highly commended at the Gin Guide, which was great.
Winning those awards and that recognition so early on, Kevin, does that add some pressure onto where you go next and where you go next? Or do you see it as an accolade for what you've achieved in the past and now it's about achieving new?
It's an accolade, absolutely. That just kind of confirms that they're coming up to you and say, you're right, it's very good, isn't it? You're right to take that chance, and you've got this thing, it's good. That's why you've got those things. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't being big-headed about it. I thought, you know, the first one, just getting highly commended. I thought, well, you're being recognized by an industry which you're just entering in. You know, you're just an infant, and these adults are coming up to you and say, that's actually very good, well done. You know, that's reassuring. Of course it is. That I haven't made any mistakes.
We are blessed, of course, in Kent, in the southeast, with some fantastic distilleries and breweries and food and drink produce companies here. You know, we've just got such an amazing local community and such a big market down here. Obviously, you launching as a new business, transferring from a hobby into a business, you know, achieving these accolades that the journey you went on. The thing that I love the most is you entered the market with a completely unique USP in terms of, as you said, that famous bottle that everyone talks about. I actually got to see it in person. Someone at KMFM, I'm not gonna say who, but they've clearly they've had a bottle of your gin and they now use it as their everyday water bottle.
Well, that's great. That's the point of it. That's the story. It's this kind of this circle of life of the bottle. You know, it's not a gin bottle become a flask. It's a flask becomes a gin bottle becomes a flask again. That's the point of it. You know.
So where did that idea come from?
Pretty much, I mean, it was in 2 parts. Firstly, you know, the gin category is a very, very crowded one. And if you're going to bring something to this party, you better bring something new and exciting. And it's got to have some real shelf appeal. So that was always at the back of my mind. What does it look like? What does it do? And I kept thinking about a second use thing. And then I went to the local farm shop just down the road from me. And we bought our vegetables. And they gave us a little wooden crate, which probably they had their goods delivered in. And we took ours away and we came back with it the following week and filled it up again. I said, well, this is brilliant, isn't it? And also in that farm shop, there was no plastic around your cauliflower or your broccoli or anything. Like nothing came in a bag, they were just loose. And then you just put them in your thing, you weighed them, and you just dumped them in your box. I thought, this is brilliant. There's no packaging, there's no waste. And we're coming back with that box and we're refilling it again. So that kind of inspired me as well. And that's when I came up to the flask idea, for it had to have a second use, no more single-use packaging, nothing that goes into landfill. And also, if you don't want the flask, then it's perfectly recyclable anyway. Hopefully you do want it. I mean, the individual value of something like that, if you want to buy like a chilies bottle or something like that, is around 20 quid. So you have to factor that into the actual retail price of this product, which is like £40. So it's two products in one. You know, once you finish your gin, start enjoying your teas and coffees and juices.
I want to ask. We mentioned earlier on about you mentioned about taste and sort of the process that sort of went into making sure that obviously the different packaging doesn't affect the taste. Can you give us a little sense of was that a process at all? Was there any worry that potentially this having it in this container would potentially affect after a small period of time potentially the taste of the gin?
No, we did some tests with that. When I had to sign it over to the commercial side of things, we did all that. And we didn't do it right exactly the first time. There was slight little subtle nuances and little tweaks we had to make. But one of those things, every time it's delivered to me, it's in that flask. So it has that time if you think it's going to taint, or it doesn't, because it's a clean bottle to start with. It's not like, you've gone from having something in it, something different, so it's always going to be fine.
Was that for you the toughest process of all this, the testing? Because it sounds like it was quite rigorous.
No, I think the toughest process was the actual coming up with the profile. It's doing the distilling thing. I didn't know anything about that. I just had to read lots of books, go on YouTube, and I'm no master distiller, but it is quite simple to do. It's how you do it. What you put into it and is what you get out of it at the end of the day. You put rubbish ideas in, rubbish ideas come out. You have to have something good in the first place, and I think the first test of working with distillation is that you don't go blind. That's the first test. And the second test, does it actually taste really nice? Is it the drink that you'd go out and buy? And the answer is yes.
I want to ask around the launch of the business and the challenges you faced. Obviously, we mentioned at the start that you must have had some challenges on the way. Every business does in its first year. But in the current climate, I think it was just such a tough time to launch a business. So in terms of, feel free to hit on some if you want, but in terms of how you approach challenging situations, has that changed at all over the past 12 months?
We're still in it. Nothing's really changed. I mean, it's still, as I said earlier, it's more focusing on the online things and more sort of local businesses, and sort of more on the PR side of things is really important. I mean, we've had some really good exposure. We've been in BBC Good Food magazine, OK magazine, Sunday Express, Shortlist magazine. We were on Love Your Weekend with Alan Titchmarsh on ITV, where they was doing tasting gin, and they had 4 brands, and ours was one of Cantium Gin was one of those, and he really liked it. So if Alan likes it, I mean, that's got to be good.
He moved to Kent for a bit, but isn't he from your part of the world? Wasn't he in did you say you were born in Hampshire?
Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire. Oh, okay, no. Oh, I'm sure he lived in Hertfordshire or Hampshire or somewhere like that. Anyway, but I'm sure he also moved to Kent at one point. I can't remember when, but
well, that makes sense. It's the Garden of England, and he's a gardener, so.
Yeah, well, there we go. The closer to the Chelsea Flower Show, the better for Alan Titchmarsh. I think it's really interesting hearing your challenges. But you mentioned there the e-commerce store and the e-commerce side of things. You don't just sell gin, do you? But you also sell everything you need branded to become really a household gin connoisseur in some ways. Like you've got the whole kit there. Tell us a little bit about your e-commerce offering and why you expanded that from not just being the sales site for your gin.
Yeah, I think the first thing I was trying to do was when you see the journey of like gins always have the same sort of commercial arc in terms of where their product base goes, and they'll have their dry gin, then I'll do a vodka or go and do their pink gin, and then they come out with the glassware and stuff like that, which is normally like the big balloon Copa glass type thing. And like following on from what I did, being a bit more striking, stand out and different, I certainly wasn't going to come out with a glass like that. So I thought, well, that's what else can I do? And then I come up with the actual calyx, which is made of the same thermal properties as a flask. So I did some tests with these against a normal glass, the same G&T, same amount of ice, and had a thermometer, and I was testing it over half an hour. And this one, I kept it like super chilled for ages, and the ice was still intact, while the other one had gone. And obviously diluted your drinking experience, and you don't want that. So, and also once you finish with it, you can put your teas and coffees in it next day. It comes with a little sippable lid, and you take it with you off to work.
It's perfect if you've got a picnic and you've had the bottle. You can take your hot drinks with you. You can put any drink in it. Then you've got the cups. It's absolutely perfect. And do you feel like the extra products are a way to also help elevate brand awareness? Are you hopeful for maybe for people who are looking to buy little gift sets and buy for others, that these are, so to speak, the products that would appeal to them?
Yeah, we've got at the moment with the pink gin was the Robesco, which that's based on the award-winning Primo base spirit, but with strawberries and raspberries, staying on that Kentish theme. So we're doing a thing where you get like the kit, the whole set, and some sweets, and I think we're calling Message Gin a bottle, which is like a tiny little scroll. We can write a little love message on it, and we put it in a tiny little bowl, and we include it into the cup with some little love heart sweets.
How are you marketing this then, Kevin? You put a lot of work into, like you say, organic social media and obviously trying to drive people and drive the message through there. Have you made any investments this year to take it to that next level, or is that the next step for you?
Probably the next step. Yeah, I mean, financially, we've not done a huge amount. We've done some magazine stuff, but I'd say it's mostly is organic. We were on with Instagram and stuff like that, and you know, PR is the best thing. I mean, if you can get your gin on TV, it costs you nothing. It's not like making a TV commercial. It's actually on TV and someone's talking about it. That's priceless, isn't it? I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. And getting into the magazines and stuff like that. And also, we've another little box that we ticked is something I wanted to get the brand into Fortnum and Mason, which we did. And we had some great conversations at the end of 2019, which disappeared at the start of 2020. And then I'm quite not aggressive, but very determined. I'll keep going and going and going until that door is finally shut. And if it's not, I'll keep on going. And then finally got back in there. And they said, "Oh, well, we're going to, as things are loosening up, we're going to launch with Cantium Gin, and we're going to make it gin of the month," which turned into more than a month. And I think we did tastings in there right up until sort of early December, which that was a great experience because you're getting to meet people, and that's a first bit of market research because people trying it, they're talking about it, learning about the brand, and they're more kind of excited about it when they realize you're not a salesperson who works at Fortnum and Mason. You're actually the guy who made it in his garage a couple of years ago. So it's more, you know, they get under the skin of things a little bit more.
Well, and you're passionate about gin. Like, surely that's a big thing as well. That you're passionate about gin, and it's. Do you know what I actually got over Christmas? I'm not going to lie. Maybe I'm going to have to jump online and grab some of your gin because I got this set of gin infusions, and I thought they were going to come like in a little packet, and you just like sort of sprinkle it in and you know infuse the gin. But they are like tea bags. And they're the most amazing thing. You put them in the cup, leave the gin to soak with the tea bag for about, I think it's 10 minutes. Yeah, they are. But some of the flavors are really odd, I've got to admit. But no, they are really, really good. I love an infused gin. I need to get them to good juice because I've got to be honest, I haven't had one since Christmas.
You got to treat yourself.
I've had a dry January, a completely.
You should have made it a January.
Well, not on purpose, though, Kevin. It's just like it's just not happened. I just haven't had a not even watching the football. Usually, I like to have a beer or a gin watching the football. Just hasn't happened. This I'm not even in the mood with lockdown to have a drink. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we need to get a celebratory bottle for when we come out of lockdown, to put a smile on all our faces.
Definitely.
You spoke then, Kevin. I just want to hit on it slightly. The boxes that you've ticked, and you mentioned one of them. I wanted to ask you about, you know, certain missions that you set out on when you started the business and you launched it a year ago, and how close you are to achieving a certain mission. But it sounds like you've managed to tick many boxes in the past 12 months. So what would you say is your biggest success story from the past year? I think big question. It is because luckily for me, there's a few to choose from. But you know, the awards thing's great. Seeing it, you know, on TV was very satisfying. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's probably for lots of different reasons. But being at Fortnum & Mason, because it was my first chance to meet people. Because I've been robbed of doing the gin shows and events throughout the summer. I never got to really talk about it with anyone, you know, as you would do it in that forum. So to have that platform to communicate with people about your product was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And this is exactly also why I wanted to have a conversation with you today, because I wanted to learn more about the business from you. Having seen it a lot on LinkedIn and on social media, I wanted to hear more from you. I wanted to hear more about your journey, because I do think that the way the business and listening to your background now, it makes sense with the way the business has sort of managed to capture already so many eyes on it and catch my eye on it. It's because it's eye catching. The content you put out is eye catching. The way the bottle looks is eye catching. The idea behind it, the USP, it really interests me, all these little elements. And now speaking to you, I can understand why potentially, compared to some other businesses, Kevin, Cantium has managed to have such a brilliant rise over its first 12 months. And I personally think the sky's the limit for you guys now. What are your plans for? Have you got a 5-year plan? Have you got a 2-3 year plan?
My 5-year plan. Yeah, my 5-year plan is to stay alive.
Well, you're doing a good job so far. You're 12 months into it.
Yeah. I think it's just more expansion with products, and also, as I mentioned earlier, more of the on-trade stuff, which is really difficult at the moment, getting distribution and stuff like that, taking it internationally. And, it's just like, my thing is always trying to aim high, then work back from there. I mean, instead of like, just start with little stuff and work up, just go straight up there and see what you can do. Have a bit of confidence in it. I mean, the very fact that I've got something that looks like nothing else out there, in terms of, there's some really nice looking bottles, but there's not many things you can reuse other than sticking a candle in it or some LED lights. This is something goes on and on, so that's given me a lot of confidence. And the fact that it tastes really good,
I can see the pride you take in it as well, and I think that's massive for a business owner when you can take pride in your product. Well, I had Sian on from Fudge Kitchen in the last episode, and the pride she takes in the fudge and the little words that they use in house with the team and bits and pieces like that to really portray the passion she has for creating great fudge. I'm getting a similar sense from yourself for your gin and the pride you take in your brand.
I think you've got to have a passion behind it. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was working as a filmmaker, there's a massive passion behind creating content, and I'm still doing that to a certain extent. So that's still there. Does that final question for me? Does that sort of the passion that you have for creating content around your brand and doing that, does that sort of give you a little release from the everyday life of owning a business, to be able to have that little bit of fun and creativity around everything else? Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, also it's keeping a foot back in the old world when I used to do things like that as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm very lucky that we've got these transferable skills. Like I said earlier, it's just an all-encompassing little unit where we can achieve a lot of things, like even like finding the products and doing the designs and the graphic design and the filming and photography and editing, all the post-production stuff. It's that we can do that ourselves is fantastic.
Kevin, this has been fantastic. It's been great talking about your first 12 months. And I can't wait potentially in 12 months' time to talk about your second 12 months as well, because I genuinely feel like the sky's the limit for you guys. Please tell people where they can go and grab your amazing gin. Okay, so we're at allthews.cantiumgin.com, and we're at Cantium_gin on Instagram. Thank you, Kevin. Of course, as Kevin said there as well, on the Instagram account, you can check out some behind the scenes shots really of putting the brand together and Kevin's story and the business story, which is absolutely fascinating that Kevin and Cantium as a brand are being so transparent with where you guys have come from. Guys, make sure you like our page on LinkedIn. Make sure you go and check us out on YouTube and subscribe over there. Also, make sure you check out Scale Up Stories, the Digital Beans podcast on your podcast platform of choice. This will be repurposed in audio format in a couple of weeks' time. Next week, we have got another fantastic Scale Up Stories for you, but I'm going to keep the guest a secret because it could be one of two people at this moment in time. I'm not going to lie to you. So we'll speak to you same time next week. It will actually be next Tuesday and not next Wednesday. Kevin, thank you for now. Guys, stay safe and speak to you next time.